would like to tell you the story of Gawain and the Green Knight. This is one of the stories from the King Arthur stories. Gawain was one of the knights of the Round Table, and he was very brave. Now, there are several different versions of this story, but this is one of my favorites. Now, on Christmas Eve, there was a big festival going on at King Arthur's court in Camelot. And there were celebrations, and there was feasting, and there was music, and there was entertainment. And almost at the stroke of midnight, they hear this pounding on the front door. Boom, boom, boom. So the doors opened because sounds like somebody wants to come in. And because it's Christmas and the Christmas celebration, anyone who shows up is welcome to come in and join in the feasting and the celebration, because this was part of the way that King Arthur showed how generous he was as a king. Well, in walks this very strange giant. He seems to be all made out of wood, and his wood is all held together with ivy and vines, and he's got all these leaves in his hair, and even his face looks like it's made out of wood, but it doesn't look like it's carved. It looks like just like rough bark. So he walks in, stomp, 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 because he's big. So it's almost a booming stomp as he's coming in. Boom, boom, boom. And everyone's staring at this, and the music is stopped, and everyone's just staring at this strange figure that's come in. Well, the figure says, "I have come to challenge King Arthur. Who will stand for the king? Who will be his champion?" And everyone's scared. Even Lancelot, who is one of the greatest knights in the entire realm, was scared of this, because this is a giant. He's made out of wood. How do you fight basically a giant walking tree? So then the King Arthur says, "Will no one stand up for his king?" And Gawain stands up. Gawain was one of the bravest of the knights and the most noble. And he stands up and he says, "I will stand as champion for the king." And the giant says, "Oh, ho, 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 ho. Yes, finally someone with some courage." And the giant says, "Now, this is the challenge. I shall kneel down, and you shall cut off my head. And then in 1 year's time, you shall meet me at the Green Chapel, and I shall cut off your head." Gawain's really worried about this, but he said he would be the champion. He's honor bound to do this, but he's scared. So he goes up and he takes his sword, because the giant has now knelt down and has his neck extended. And Gawain takes his sword and goes, chop, right through the giant's neck, and his head comes off. Bounce, bounce, bounce. And everyone thinks, oh, okay, now it's done. Now we don't have to worry. But then the giant, without his head, stands up, and he walks over to where his head bounced to, and he picks it up, and he holds it up by the hair. And the giant's head then says, "In 1 year's time." So Gawain then has 1 year to be scared of this, and 1 year to try to find a way to defeat the Green Giant, or to defeat the Green Knight, who is a giant and is made of greenery and trees. So yeah. So then Gawain wanders the land. He has to find the Green Chapel, and he has to figure out a way to try to defeat the Green Knight. After 1 year's time has passed, to the day, he gets to the Green Chapel. And so it's cold, and he's fighting through the storms and the wind and the snow. He gets to the Green Chapel and he gets in. Oh, finally a break from the weather. Yes, he's got some shelter. And there is the Green Knight sitting in his throne in the Green Chapel. And the Green Knight says, have you come to honor the terms of the challenge? And Gawain says, yes, I have. And the giant says, good, a man of honor. So he tells Gawain, kneel down and I shall strike off your head. But you must hold still because I held still for you. So Gawain kneels down. And the first time the giant lifts his sword, he flinches away. Oh! And the giant says, I told you, hold still. I don't want to miss my cut. Gawain says, I will hold still. I will hold still. Let's try this again. So Gawain's kneeling there, and the giant lifts his sword and starts to cut, and Gawain flinches again. And the giant says, I told you to hold still. What, are you scared? And Gawain says, yes, I am. The giant says, good, because courage is not being unafraid. Courage is being afraid and doing what needs to be done anyway. So Gawain braces himself and he kneels down. The giant takes his sword and cuts, but just barely, just a little slice on Gawain's neck. And Gawain managed to hold still for it. And the giant says, honor is satisfied. You are brave and true and honorable. And I salute you. You may now go your way. So Gawain did, and he went back to the court of King Arthur, and he had a wonderful tale to tell. But no one really believed him, but he did have, to the end of his days, a little scar on his neck from the giant's sword. And this is one version of the story of Gawain and the Green Knight. Thank you.